Hello again, everyone. In this video, I will be going over the best overload enchantments for PvP. Overloads go in the blue slots in your gear. They are basically just temporary enchantments. The timer for them only ticks down when you are in combat. Here are the very best overloads for PvP. All three of these come from the events Hell Pit, Harvester of Nightmares, and Siege of Neverwinter. Now the Devil's Precision Overload, which I have here, this is the very best overload enchantment for DPS classes in PvP. You can see it grants you a lot of critical strike and a lot of accuracy. Like, both of those are really good stats in PvP, and it gives you a lot of them. To go with that, you could also run Bulwark of Brimstone here. Bulwark of Brimstone is a very good source of HP. Now, there is another enchantment that I'll need to get out of my bank for you. Rage of Flames is commonly paired with Devil's Precision on glass cannon builds. And with like rangers and sometimes rogues. I'd say rogues more often would run that Bulwark of Brimstone that I mentioned earlier instead of this though. Now, notably, only one copy of each of these enchantments has any effect. Doubling up on two identical overloads out of these will not have any effect. Like, for example, if I was to take this overload and add a second copy of this exact same overload, the values for critical chance and accuracy would not increase to 10%. Instead, they would just stay 5% like they are now. Moving on to a few other good overloads for PvP. The Greater Corrupt overloads come in three types. The only difference between them is the stats. And if you give me a moment, I'll pull them up. Like, as you can see here, there's a Black Ice one, there's a Lethal one, and there's a Piercing one. The only difference between these is the stats. The main thing these enchantments are good for is the large amount of action points they grant. Unlike the previous overloads that I discussed, these Greater Corrupt overloads do stack. I highly recommend you wear two of these overloads at the same time if you use them at all. Now, you would use these in combination with things like the Envenomed Storyteller's Journal and whatever other small action point sources that you have to have really nice uptime for your dailies. These are very worth it if you don't have the best in slot overloads yet. Now, going back to my bank, there's another overload in here I want to show you guys. Resiliency of the Depths here is a good overload as well. It reduces the damage you take by 5% according to the tooltip. Now, it specifies physical damage, so theoretically this wouldn't work on magical damage, but it should work on everyone else's damage. Now, I haven't run this enchantment much myself, so I'm not sure exactly how good it is. In theory, it should be decent. red dragon glyphs are dirt cheap and are good on classes that do a lot of separate hits. Rogues running Duelist Flurry is one of the best examples of something that these glyphs are good on. Black dragon glyphs are very similar to red dragon glyphs. They split their damage procs up into a DOT effect, but otherwise they are the same as the red dragon glyphs. You can stack 2 copies of the same dragon glyph to get 2 copies of their effect as well. Next up, I'm gonna show you what I have down here. PvP class wards were mathematically stronger than class Slayer overloads the last time I had this tested. The class wards offer very strong protection against specific classes. There is a guild boon that enhances these overloads too, by the way. Now if you look here, you can see I've got a bunch of different ones. Like, every single class in the game has these for it. And if you want to see the guild boon that affects these ward overloads, it's right here. And it just increases the value on them so they're a little bit stronger. If you run these overloads, definitely turn this on. Now, you don't need the extra survivability from PvP class ward. Like, if you don't need this extra survivability from the PvP class wards, you could consider the class Slayer overloads instead in that case. Like, there's also a guild boon for this as well. Like, if you look here, there's one over here that allows you to enhance the Slayers. Now, Slayers used to be really popular on Whisper Knife. Like, these used to be popular on Whisper Knife rogues back in Mod 19. These were particularly useful for helping rogues kill fighters back then. Now, another thing I'll show you is if you look at the names for these overloads, there's a bit of confusion between the fighter overload and the barbarian overload. If you look here, this title says Fighter Slayer, but this is actually the one for barbarian when you look at the tooltip. This one indeed is the one for barbarian. Now, if I go and find the barbarian one, which hopefully I bought, there it is. Okay, so if you see this one, Guardian Slayer. Oh, actually no. I had it backwards. Okay, so the Guardian Slayer here gives you more damage against fighters. And this one over here named Fighter Slayer is the one for barbarian. Okay, hopefully I didn't confuse you too much there. Now, neither wards nor slayers stacked the last time I tested them, so only use one of each. So you wouldn't be able to double up on 2 overloads for the same class. Like, you can't do 2 rogue slayers to get 20% damage. It's always going to be that 10% plus whatever the guild boon gives you. Now, there is a downslide to running class overloads. Class overloads constantly have to be changed from match to match, and they take up a lot of bag space to store, as you can see. Now, there is a set of thankfully seldom used overloads that appear on ban lists for literally all PvP content on PC. These 2 items currently hold the title of most hated items that have ever been released into this game's PvP environment. Now, they have been nerfed many times over, so they aren't as strong as they used to be. They are, however, still strong enough to become a serious problem in PvP should they ever become common again. They are still banned on PC. Notably, they are significantly stronger against shielding classes than they are against dodging classes. They are still a quality of life downgrade for everyone, though. Should you ever have the misfortune to encounter a player using drains, there are wards you can put on to reduce the effects of these drains. If you can only afford to wear one anti-drain ward, prioritize protecting your stamina gain over your action point gain. In most cases, being unable to dodge or block is significantly worse for your health than having fewer dailies. Now, I'm going to actually go to the stronghold just to show you the tooltips. Now, this will take me a moment to find. Like, if you see here, here are the wards that protect against these drains. Like, this one fully negates the effect of the AP drain when used against you. And this one only reduces 20% of the effect, but it's more important to protect your stamina gain still than it is to protect your AP. But if you wanted to wear both against a drain user, you could. Now, to show you the actual drains, here they are. Now, I'm pretty sure this stacks unless it's been nerfed again. Like, it's possible this actually got a stealth nerfed and it might actually suck now. But that would have been very recent. It probably would have been alongside the recent boon nerfs to things like focused retaliation, if that did happen. Here's the mark of AP drain. Your damaging daily powers drain 20% of a player's AP. This does not look like it's been changed. For some reason, the stamina one... Like, I'd have to test this to see if this stacks still, but hopefully this thing has just been nerfed into the ground. I really can't tell just by looking at it. That is everything I wanted to discuss in this video. See you next time.